What's going on, everyone? Zane here with Everything Vive. I want to welcome you back for another episode. I'm here with Ronnie. Ronnie, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Doing great. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to everyone listening. Hope the week has gone by quickly. And yeah, man, we got another game talk. How you feeling, Ronnie?
Yeah, no, pretty good. Honestly, this week has gone by pretty fast. So it feels kind of crazy that it's already Friday. So
exactly. Yep. So, before we jump into anything, just to give you guys a heads up, this coming Monday, I know we normally do a VR and Vive news episode. We will actually have to push that to Tuesday just because I will be out of town. And instead of recording something ahead of time, Ronnie and I just figured it'd be better to let the news kind of settle out. And I know there were a couple things that have popped up already, but we're going to kind of chew on those over the weekend and then give our thoughts on Tuesday. So anyone who tunes in on Monday or is looking for the episode, just want to let you guys know that it will not be up until Tuesday. You good with that, Ronnie?
Yeah. No, it's good to give everybody a heads up. I know I get kind of sad when my usual podcasts don't pop up when I'm expecting them to. So, but things happen and vacations have to, we need our time off sometimes. So.
Exactly. So, well, if anybody gets sad that we're not there on Monday, first off, thank you for being sad and thank you for listening because that means a lot to us. But yeah, well, you know what? Let's just jump right into it. We got 4 games to go over today. I'm going to start it off. And right now I am on this local multiplayer trip. I know last week I mentioned Panoptic. This week, I'm going to start it off with VR Diner Duo. And I know we've been kind of alluding to this for a while, but I've had a full week and a half or so now of messing around with it. And it's really good. I don't know what else to say. Like I had a couple friends over last night and we were playing it and people got really into it. And there's like this really, I guess the social factor of it more so than what was there before.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, so let me clarify because people say VR can be very antisocial, blah blah blah. But you have a lot of these, and I know you've had Vive parties because that's kind of how I was introduced to the Vive. But you have people over to show them the Vive, and it becomes this social affair where only one person's in the headset, obviously. But everybody's kind of watching, seeing how the reactions are, trying out new experiences, laughing when they do something funny or crazy or whatever. But now there's this, we kind of parted off yesterday with the people that were over and, someone got to get into the headset and in the headset, you are the chef. You're chopping up vegetables, putting together burgers. You're essentially running a burger joint. And the person on the computer is the waiter or waitress who is running around taking the orders and essentially doing everything else. And it's really awesome. Like the collaborative, effort that goes into it. And also the game feels very, very polished. And I know we say that, I don't want to say that lightly, but the fact that like you can see exactly all the movements that are happening in real time. There's no latency. And whether you're in the headset, you can see the person moving around and it's, accurately tracked, the person on the computer moving around. And on the flip side of that, when you're the waiter or waitress kind of going around the restaurant, you see the little corner where the chef is or the person who's in the VR headset and all the movements that they're doing, you can actually watch them making those in real time, even if you're not doing anything, even if the person's like in the start menu. So it's just really cool. Like I wasn't expecting to see something as polished, but yeah. I'm very impressed with it. And so, if you can get a chance to grab it, I think it's like $15 on Steam right now. But I'm sure if it's going to go on, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but if it does go on sale over the holidays, this is definitely a top one. I know, Ronnie, you've had this game for a while. I don't know if you had a chance to dive in and jump in, but
no, it's kind of,
it's
been on my list of games that I really wanted to play. And I know the multiplayer aspect is the big draw, to the game. I haven't had a chance to play it since I have a little one at home and it's been kind of tough to get my wife free enough at the same time as myself so that we can kind of play together. But I'm hoping that, pretty soon I'm going to get a chance to play. And that sounds like a lot of fun. And I'm glad to hear that. I mean, just in general, there've been a lot from, we talked about Panoptic in the last game talk and now this one. And there's some others I know that we're going to be talking about soon. I'm just happy that there's, a lot of experiences like that are out on the Vive right now, where people can really play locally. I've always been a big fan of local multiplayer, even in non VR games on the usual consoles. I know that playing online is kind of the way things have moved more generally speaking, but every time a good multiplayer, local multiplayer game comes out, those are always the most fun for me because I like to, have fun with my friends, my family, all that kind of stuff, all playing together, in one area. And Diner Duo seems like a great game to do that with. So.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. The graphics are polished, but very. They're not simple, but it's a lighthearted game. Like the waiter or waitress looks like a big, almost like cute purple robot that's running around the place. And like when when you're in the game, like they come up to you, they're like real size, and it's just there's something about it that it's perfect for people who are, I think, new to VR. And, everyone that I had over yesterday, majority of them had tried VR already. I'd already had them over to, sample different games. And this was more so just, like I was saying, the round two of like, hey, got some new experiences, got some new games you guys should try out. And so, when they came over and they were able to work together essentially, or be more collaborative and have it be more of a social experience with one person, helping out the other, I feel like it just really added to the experience, and I'll be curious to see how this game progresses further, and if any other games come out similar to this. But right now, it seems like it's the only quote unquote cooking game, I guess. But and even in its simplicity, I'm really impressed. So definitely 2 thumbs up from here.
Yeah, just curious, how does the player on the PC control things? Are there multiple options? Or?
So it's very basic controls. You use the arrows to essentially move around the restaurant, and it's pretty simple. Then you use the space bar just to pick up food or drop food off. Okay. And then you can use the mouse to, I guess, just change the angle in which the camera is facing.
Okay, and I would imagine it might work with a controller too. I'll have to check that out as well, but. Yeah, no, I was just curious kind of how it works.
Actually, we should try that out. I mean, it probably would work with a controller, but we were just playing it off the keyboard yesterday.
Okay, no, that's good. The more games that can support multiple setups, the better. Not everybody has a controller hooked up to their PC or might have one handy, so it's good to have all of those options, and that sounds like a lot of fun. So
yeah, man, definitely let us know when you try it, because I think it's a lot of fun, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with it too.
All right, well, cool. Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned kind of the simplistic graphics of VR Diner Duo, and yet the fun gameplay elements that kind of brought people together around it. It's kind of the polar opposite, and no pun intended, with the game that I wanted to talk about next, which is Everest VR. So yeah, I had picked up Everest VR. Had been a game that I was interested in from even before I got my Vive headset, because I had heard about the game prior to the Vive being released, and it just looked really cool, and I wanted to check it out. And it didn't come out for quite a while, and when it eventually did come out, it came out at kind of a higher price point than expected, and to a lot of mixed reviews. So I kind of, I waited and, didn't really bite on picking it up. But over the Thanksgiving break, I saw that it went on sale. It wasn't a crazy sale. I'd say, I'm not exactly sure. I think it might have been 25 or 30% off, something like that. But I decided to go ahead and pick it up. I think I picked it up for around $13. And, I'd have to say, I mean, I finished the experience. It's not a long game. You can finish it in probably around an hour or so. And it did let me down. So
oh man,
I'll say,
that's disappointing.
Yeah. No, so I'll say, I mean, there are definitely some good things about it and some bad things about it. And overall, I thought it was a missed opportunity, unfortunately. If it ends up, becoming much cheaper, then maybe at some point I'd say go ahead and give it a try. But honestly, at the price point that right now it's $20. Even if it was $10, depending on who you are, I mean, there's just so many great VR experiences right now around that price that I don't even think I'd really recommend it for that. I really, I mean, probably like maybe a $5 purchase might be
Okay.
worth it. I don't know, but
So
like,
can you tell me a little bit more or tell us about it a little bit more?
yeah.
Because I keep hearing about it, but I never pulled the trigger. I never actually even looked into it. So what's the
Yeah.
gameplay like, or what's the experience like? And
So
how does that translate?
yeah. So first, I'll say. So I mean, in general, it reminded me a lot of the Apollo 11 VR experience.
Ah,
In
okay.
that, in that, but not as well executed as far as the gameplay is concerned. And I'll kind of explain why I think that might have been the case. Um, it is like the Apollo 11 VR experience in that it you can tell the developers developed this game with the intent in mind of kind of introducing players to this real world occurrence or event of people reaching the top of Mount Everest. So
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of this there's a tint of they're trying to teach people what it might possibly feel like to be on this trek. So in that sense, it's kind of cool because you're able. What the game does best is really set the environment up and the atmosphere. I mean, the graphics are incredible. I think it's probably the best some of the best graphics in a VR game that I've seen yet.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I've played quite a bit. Arizona Sunshine just came out. It looks like it has great graphics. I'll have to check that out more soon to see how that compares. But
We're going to talk about that at the end of the episode, though. So
yeah, yeah. So, but really, I mean, just off the top of my head, thinking about all of the games that I've played, I mean, graphically, this is very, very well done. And you're supposed to be, trekking Mount Everest and, the harshest of conditions, and the weather effects are great. The night-day cycle is excellent. Just everything looks really, really, really real. So that's great. Some of the animations on the characters are not so well developed, and I think that gets me to why I think some of this didn't turn out quite as well as even Apollo 11. Because I think what it's really So I tend to be one of those type of guys that if you can wow me with graphics, I can kind of overlook some shortcomings as far as the gameplay is concerned, as far as some of the other aspects of a title. So I thought when I would read these reviews and people would complain about the gameplay but say, it looks great, I thought, well, that sounds like something I might, actually like. I mean, think of some games out there that are graphically pretty impressive, but don't have a whole lot as far as gameplay going on, like the Blue, for example, or some other stuff where they're really cool VR experiences because the environment and the graphics are nice, but there's not a whole lot of interactivity.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, well, maybe that's going to be what this game is like. And for whatever reason, I don't really know why, you would think that a game set on a mountainside, I mean, Richie's Plank experience is a good example. Just, getting up to the top floor of that building and walking out there onto the plank, you feel that sense of dread that you're so high up off the ground, your knees are kind of shaking, all that kind of stuff. You think that you would get that same feeling with an Everest VR title.
Yeah.
And they tried it, but just something about the execution just didn't affect me the same way. I didn't really have a strong yeah.
Okay.
And everything looks so fantastic, but then I just didn't have a strong sense of presence. And I think some of it has to do with the way the game positions the player. So it kind of breaks up, like it introduces you to the mountain, and it kind of gives you this general narrative of, Mount Everest, the tallest, the insurmountable mountain, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not exactly what it said, but you get the point.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it breaks it into pieces. So it starts you out at the mountain base, and you pick up a few things and you wave to somebody, and that's about that experience. So you get to look around at the base camp, and you pick up a few items, and that's pretty much it. And then it loads, and then you're in the next scene, and it tells you, okay, this is now, X amount of days into your trek, this is where you would be on the mountain. And then you pop up there. And once you're there, you do a few small items depending on, there was one section where you walk over a chasm on a ladder, and you have to pull yourself with some ropes and that kind of thing. And that was probably the coolest one. But in general, each section probably has like one small activity that you interact with. And otherwise, you can kind of look around. And as soon as you're done with that activity, it's basically over, and it moves you to a next point on the mountain.
Interesting.
So it's like this very disjointed, just like, a few minutes at a time experience. And none of the mechanics feel very satisfying. It doesn't really feel like you're doing much. And at the beginning of each of these, the game will have you start on one section of your play area. Like it'll pull you all the way to a corner of one of the corners of your play section, so that or play area, so it knows where you are, so that in this next part of the game, you're able to walk across your whole play area, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it directs you to the very corner, and then the gameplay starts, and you essentially move across your play area, and that's it. And you can teleport, but there's usually not much of a reason to teleport. And because they start you out in the corner, what I was noticing, and I think this is part of why it was getting me out of the experience, is that I would start, even with my minimal chaperone system up, I just have the boundaries on the floor showing.
Yeah.
It would start me out, and I could see all the because I'm right on the edge, the lines, the glowing lines are visible from the chaperone system.
So that would immediately take you out of the...
Exactly. And that's intentional. Like they want you to do that. So unless you're turning it off, everyone who plays this game, unless you have chaperone completely turned off, everyone that plays this game
is not recommended at all.
No, it's not. So everyone who plays this game is going to start out seeing these lines, and then walk slowly, and pretty much half of the experience you're seeing the chaperone lines around you, and yeah. So and then on top of that, the gameplay mechanics are always very, very minimal, like walking up a ladder, or walking across a ravine, or something like that, and it doesn't really feel like you're ever in any real danger of falling off anything, and the characters around you don't really move much, and there's not really much of a personality to the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's all what leads to this kind of the moments I had with it that were impressive were just, looking at the vistas and trying to imagine what it might be like to be there on the real thing. And that is something that's kind of cool because, chances are, it seems like they modeled Everest pretty accurately.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, the graphics are very, very, very good. They're very impressive graphics, actually.
So you just weren't really impressed with the overall experience.
Yeah.
The graphics, it seemed to live up to the hype of what you had gone in thinking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the graphics were great. But the narrative and the way it was structured and the way they presented it just wasn't didn't live up to what the expectations were, and didn't live up to the potential of the experience.
Gotcha.
In a lot of ways, I think the Apollo 11 experience, graphically, was much lower fidelity. I was not impressed with the graphics in that. They didn't really I thought if anything, Apollo 11 was an example of, it was a lower budget game, a less capable engine, yet somehow with the narrative that they created and the types of things that they showed you, they really showed you stuff that was interesting and compelling and gave you more information that was easily accessible. Like, for example, when you're and some of the missions too were kind of, I wasn't that impressed with a lot of the gameplay elements in Apollo 11, but it was still it seemed like the parts that they showed you of what it would be like to, travel in space were all compelling. It was cool to see what the takeoff looked like. It was cool to see, Earth from orbit. And then even when they brought you onto the moon, they taught you about different experiments that were done on the moon, and they gave you enough information where you felt like you were really learning something. And I thought on this, there would have been potential to explain more of that stuff. Like maybe if they would have had text boxes where I could go over to, I could, I don't know, go and look at what the base camp actually looked like, and it could explain to me some of, what is actually there at the real base camps near the bottom of Everest, and maybe like each step along the way kind of, explain what it might be like in more detail for someone that would have climbed it. Like that would
is this an early access game by any chance?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
So I mean, there's no chance of them updating it.
Yeah, I don't think it's an early. I'll have to double check that. My impression was that it's not an early access. And like I said, I think it's just one of those things. They were banking on the visuals, and maybe they spent most of their time and efforts. I mean, graphically speaking, like I said, like there aren't many titles out there that really can compare to this. It really does look excellent.
Okay.
And I mean, since I own it,
I don't know. Maybe
something.
Some people might get it just for that, but I can see what you're saying. The overall experience being somewhat disappointing.
Yeah, and like I said, I tend to be one of those kind of people. I really picked it up thinking maybe this is for me. I love graphics, but yeah, I finished the experience, and I totally understood why so many people were let down by it.
Gotcha.
It just felt kind of hollow at the end, and I didn't get that feeling from Apollo 11. I didn't get that feeling from a lot of other games. So that's why I say it's tough for me to recommend really at any price point. If you're really if you really are into graphics and you're able to find it at a really cheap price point, maybe then it's worth checking out. But at least in its current form, unless they add some updates to it, unfortunately, it didn't live up to what I was hoping for. So
gotcha. Well, that's a little disappointing, but at least anybody who was curious about it before has a better idea of what they'd be getting if they made that investment.
That's why I wanted to explain as much as I could, just because, I mean, really, I was the kind of person that I had stayed away from it until the sale, mostly because I had heard all the mixed reactions.
Yeah.
But even coming from someone that had tempered expectations and tends to like good graphics in games, this still wasn't really something. I mean, especially now with how many great experiences there are on the Vive, both free and at that price point, there's just so many other things that you should be playing before this, I think. So
fair enough. Well, you heard it from Ronnie, his 2 cents on Everest VR. Well, I can't, now that you've gone through it, I don't know if I can see myself, I guess, putting down the money for it in the future. Maybe if it does go on sale, but
and I mean, sometime if you come over or something and you can check it out.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if you had any other thoughts about it.
I'm definitely very jaded now after listening to what you had to say about it. Okay, once I do try it, I will try to give it, an open mind.
Shake.
So.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, let's keep it rocking here. I will give another game, and like I said at the beginning, sticking with the local multiplayer theme, we're gonna round it out with Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. And I mean, this is a game that is like one of the top in terms of like user reviews. Like everybody who's played it, it just seems to love it. And so I actually got it over the Black Friday sale, and it was half off, so I kind of couldn't resist. I think it was like, it's usually $15, but I got it for $7.50, and I got it. But just a heads up to anybody who will be, who wants to get the game, I did not have a gamepad or Xbox controller or any type of thing that I could hook up, and the game requires that. Like no matter what, you need to have that. And so I guess going into the gameplay, it's necessary because that is what the person in the VR headset is using while playing. And so like, it's not really, room scale. It's not even really like, you don't even use the motion controllers.
I think it was developed, like it was compatible both with the Vive and the Oculus.
And Oculus. Yeah. No, yeah. So, I mean, it's it doesn't take full advantage of the Vive, or the touch control. Sorry, not the touch controls, but yeah, I guess the touch controllers and the Vive controllers. But I mean, it still seemed like a top game, and so I'm not going to knock it for that, just because I think the experience is fantastic. I mean, I was having a lot of fun with it last night. So just to give everyone a heads up on how the gameplay kind of works, the person in the headset is stuck in the room with a bomb, and the bomb has, a bunch of different modules on it, and the people that are not in the headset, or person who's not in the headset, has a bomb defusal manual, and they can't see anything that the other person is seeing. They can't see inside the room. They can't see anything about the bomb. The point of the game is for the person in the headset and the team outside to collaborate and to use communication to say, like, oh, there's X amount of wires here. Okay, no, I'm seeing this type of module that has these symbols on it. And so the people outside have that bomb diffuser manual. You can print it out. So we printed ours out just to make it easier to go back and forth. And so yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. And like, in comparing this with VR Diner Duo and the experiences that it offers, it's definitely unique. It's fresh in terms of like the types of things that people can do, you know what I mean? Like, I guess in social gatherings. So it's fun to be able to offer that type of gameplay to a group of people who come over and try out the Vive. All right, and I guess the Rift.
And it really sounds like, I mean, for a lot of people, VR in and of itself is going to be, new and a novelty. But I mean, this really sounds like something that you wouldn't experience any other way. Like, I mean, how else could you do something like this outside of VR?
I can see you could, because the thing is, like, you could easily play the game on a computer and have people like not looking at the monitor help you. You know what I mean? But I guess there's just something about like the immersion of being like in that room with the bomb itself. And, I think one of the things that I always read on the Steam reviews is like people just talking about how, they get sweaty palms, like they get their heart racing. Like, this is a game that it just feels intense. The clock is ticking in front of your face the entire time. And so it's just, like I said, it's a fun game. It's a fun experience. And so, for anyone looking for quote unquote party games, for lack of better terms, this one is, I think, a really good one, especially if you have a group that wants to be, a group that's excited about virtual reality and VR in general, but can also get involved in the social aspect of it.
Oh, well, very cool.
Yeah. So, well, you got one more for us, Ronnie?
Yeah. I just wanted to bring one up. It's another game that it's been out for, a while, but it's free, and it's something that I think if you're a new Vive owner, you should definitely check out, because it's one of those cool kind of quick but simple games that makes you feel pretty cool in VR, and that is Waltz of the Wizard. And essentially, what it's all about, and like I said, it's free in Steam, so you can just go pick it up and try it. Whether you end up liking it or not, it's definitely worth a go. Basically, you're in an environment where you have a cauldron in front of you and a bunch of different ingredients, and you mix the ingredients together to create potions that allow you to have that allow you to do certain spells. So some of those spells involve, being able to manipulate objects in the environment with your mind, create, throw fireballs, grow huge, get rid of gravity. Like, all of these are different. Okay. Yeah, they're all different kinds of things that you can kind of play around with in this environment. And the environment's pretty small. It's not really, there's not, teleportation or anything like that. So you can't really move around a lot, but it's just kind of neat because you feel like you can actually manipulate things, with your hands directly because of the motion controllers. And everything is very, everything interacts pretty well. And I mean, throwing the fireballs and specifically, I think, controlling things with your hands in the environment, kind of with your mind by, pulling the trigger and kind of, moving things back and forth with the motion controllers just feels really cool. Like, you feel like you have some kind of special powers or something when you're playing it. So, like I said, there's not a whole lot to it. Is it going to replace, you know, some of the more full featured games for free? Of course not. But it is something that, just real quick for especially people that haven't tried VR, it's completely free and it is a pretty well polished product. It's something you should check out, especially if like wizards and spells and Harry Potter and that sort of thing. It's just kind of fun and entertaining in that respect. So I thought I'd mention it.
So yeah, so I did download it actually a little while back and had the chance to jump in for a couple minutes. I got confused, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess maybe I just wasn't looking at the right thing, but I tried throwing a bunch of things in there, and then I got like teleported somewhere else, which was really weird. And
weird.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll have to chat with you offline about how to get the most out of the game.
No, I mean, to be fair, I think before I had played it, I had seen a video of someone playing the game, so I kind of knew, okay, these are generally the kind of things that you should be putting in there. Like, I think there's different categories of ingredients on the table.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
And if you put like one of each one in, like you put one thing from each category into the cauldron, then it makes a spell. If you put like multiple things from each category in, it doesn't really do much. So like I could see how you could get confused. And ironically, I've played it a few times at various points over the past few months. And there's still one spell that like I just never figured the combination for. And there's not a whole lot. I mean, we're talking like just a handful of different types of spells. So so it's kind of, the trial and error nature of creating spells with the ingredients is not the most fun. But I think the cool thing is just being able to, mess around with the different spells.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's free. So that's what, I mean, if it was for money, it'd be one thing, but since it's free, I think it's something that,
worth checking out.
Yeah, it's something that worth checking out, especially since it's so simple. Once you do get the hang of it, like once you create a spell, it provides you with easy access to those spells. So if you figure them out, your guests that are trying the Vive for the first time won't have to figure them out again. They'll just be able to try them from the get-go.
But that might be part of the fun of it, is actually figuring out. So I may not read up or check anything out. It might be, maybe I'll just go spend some time in there and see what I come up with.
Like I said, don't go into it thinking too much. Like it's very simple, but just kind of a neat, okay, cool. That was fun and it's free. Yeah. So that's kind of that.
Cool. Well, I will definitely try to jump back in there and see what I can cook up in the cauldron. Awesome, man. So those are our 4 games for the week. Is there anything you're looking forward to playing? Well, let's just get straight to it. I know what we're going to talk about now.
Yep, Arizona Sunshine.
So I know you picked it up. I'm gonna make sure I grab it before the sale is over. I don't know. Do you want to make any comments on like everything that's happening in Reddit right now? I'm too new to like how, I guess people react to developers and all this. I just feel like there's a lot going on right now in terms of how this was handled. And I don't know, for me, I just feel like I understand people getting upset in the beginning, but with the developers changing within like 24 hours, I feel like, it's, I guess, socially okay to support the game again. I don't know. What do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. So I don't know the full details of it. You were actually the one that kind of hinted me onto what some of what was going on with the game on the Reddit. In Reddit in general, people are talking a lot about how it sounds like certain aspects of the game are being arbitrarily locked to Core i7 processors versus other processors, and how that's just kind of a strange thing. I haven't heard of anyone doing that before, and it's just it's super weird. I don't know why you would do that, but
yeah, well, I mean, I don't think they'd ever come out and actually say why they did that, but I saw a lot of people kind of just accusing them of, I don't know, taking money from Intel or something. But you know what? Never mind. I didn't say that. We shouldn't say that just because this isn't a place for us to start rumors. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I I feel like the matter is resolved now. It seems like there are people who are coming back in the defense of Arizona Sunshine, saying that, hey, you know what, you guys came out complaining about something. The devs fix it within 48 or 24 hours, whatever it is. Like, there should be some type of like resolution for this now. Don't harbor ill will. You guys should be supporting blah blah blah. So
okay,
like I said, I'm too new to this to understand I guess how communities, that type of community works. And I don't know, for me it's just like, okay, it seems like people are really upset about something. It seems like the devs did what they needed to do. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but for me, the game just seems like it's a cool game. And ultimately, like, I think VR is still too young to, for anyone to really make those unforgivable mistakes. Everyone's kind of just learning their way through. And so, I want to make sure that if they came out with a fantastic game, and from the videos that I've seen and the reviews I've seen, it looks like it's a really fun game. So I want to be able to play it personally, and I want to be able to support financially. And so I guess we'll just kind of see where that rolls.
Yeah. No, in general, I mean, I totally agree with you. I can see why people would be upset at the same time. And it is just really weird. I mean, I've never heard of anything like this before where, I mean, obviously there's some graphical features that are sometimes, exclusive to one GPU manufacturer or the other, usually, on the NVIDIA side of things. But I have never heard of specific, CPUs being locked, especially in situations. I mean, for all we know, there could be reasons why, an i7 is more preferable for some of these types of physics. I mean, I doubt it, but it's possible, I guess. But I mean, more importantly, it's great that the developers came out and did something about it. And I don't think it should overly detract. I mean, I've been waiting for Arizona Sunshine since before I got my Vive. And
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those games, again, like the screenshots just looked so cool. And I mean, this is before Brookhaven had came out, and it just looked better than anything that was really coming out, and it looked like it would be fully featured. And from what I've heard, I mean, people are having a blast with it. I think you and I had talked about wanting to play some of the co-op campaign mode, and horde mode cool stuff. So we'll try to do that soon and kind of talk about it here. But I'm just excited to play the game. So it's installed and sitting on my system. I just need to find some time this weekend, hopefully, to really dive in so that we can give our full impressions hopefully next week.
Yep. Well, I will be out of town until Monday, so I will try to get some gameplay in before our next Game Talk episode next Friday. But yeah, man, you got anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. Just excited to play that, and Diner Duo, I think, is one that is high on my list of games I need to play. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, we will cut this episode here then. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Again, we will see you guys for our Vive/VR news episode on Tuesday instead of Monday next week. And with that being said, thank you guys for all the support. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you come say hello to us on YouTube, leave us a review on iTunes and Stitcher, and I guess that's all I got, Ronnie. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.